Good evening. Good evening, everyone. I'm Katie Conboy. I'm president here at St. Mary's College, and I'm really pleased to welcome you to Raise Your Voice, our annual Sexual Violence Prevention Symposium, and of course, to tonight's keynote speaker, Maggie Nichols. This event is sponsored by the President's Committee on Sexual Violence, and I want to thank that committee for incredibly hard work and give special thanks to Liz Coulston-Bauman, our Director of Student Involvement and Advocacy, for her extraordinary efforts in planning tonight's event and the whole symposium. So I called it an annual event, but this is actually the only the second time that we have hosted this symposium. I truly believe that as a Catholic women's college, we should unequivocally be the conveners of this type of event. We are the only women's college in the state of Indiana, and we should be the leader in furthering discussions about sexual violence, about its impact on survivors and on our culture, and we should be talking about how we can play a role in ending sexual violence in our community. St. Mary's is committed to highlighting voices and stories that are front and center in this conversation. So tonight, we are welcoming Maggie Nichols to share her voice. As an athlete, a survivor, an activist, she was the first athlete to come forward and report abuse by USA gymnastics team doctor Larry Nassar. Known as Athlete A, in initial documentation surrounding the investigation, Maggie publicly came forward in 2018. A 2020 Netflix documentary, if you haven't seen it, I really recommend it, featured her story, and since then she established the Maggie Nichols Foundation, whose founding mission is to offer assistance to charities that help heal victims and survivors of all types of abuse. After graduating from the University of Oklahoma and becoming one of the most decorated NCAA gymnasts of all time, Maggie is now a student assistant coach for the Sooners gymnastics team while she's earning her master's degree in adult and higher education. She's passionate about sharing her story and about being a positive light to those around her. One housekeeping note about tonight's event: if you have questions for Maggie, please text your question to the number that's listed on your program. We're collecting your questions so that we can have a robust Q&A session after the lecture. And I'd now like to turn your attention to the video screen for a brief video, but first, please help me give a very warm St. Mary's welcome to Maggie Nichols.
It's an honor and a privilege to be here today with you all. I wanted to share a little bit about who I am, my story as Athlete A, a gymnast, and a few of the lessons I've learned along the way. So I started gymnastics at the age of 3. Through the years, the coaches started noticing that I had the talent. I grew up going to a gym that was about 5 minutes from my house, and one day the coaches pulled my parents aside and suggested that I move gyms to Twin City Twisters, which was the best gym in Minnesota at the time. And my parents knew that I loved the sport and wanted to help me strive to achieve my goals. So my parents made the sacrifice to move gyms and started driving me 45 minutes to an hour every single day, 6 days a week, so I could practice at this gym. And little did I know that Twin City Twisters was going to change my life in so many amazing ways. Through the years, I went through the levels pretty quickly. At age 7 and 8, I competed at level 7, then went on to compete 1 meet of level 8, 1 year of level 9, and 4 years of level 10. Through my 4 years of level 10, I was also striving to qualify to become an elite gymnast. I was the gymnast who had all the skills. I was a daredevil and wanted to learn every single skill that I could, but I had terrible form, which is a huge reason why it took me a while to qualify to elite gymnastics. It was in 2011 when I finally qualified to become an elite gymnast, and I was over the moon. I was 13 years old when I qualified to compete at my first U.S. Championships, which, if you don't know, U.S. Championships is the national championships for elite gymnasts. The national championships that year were ironically in Minnesota, where I'm from. I was so excited to be able to perform one of my first elite competitions in front of my whole hometown, family, and friends. But unfortunately, at the first practice, I was doing a beam series and crashed and dislocated my kneecap, so I was unable to compete at my first U.S. Championships. It was a huge bummer for myself, my family, friends, because for one, I worked so hard to get there, and my family was so excited to watch me compete at my first elite competition, but I was excited to be in the stands and cheer on my teammates and heal up so I could compete at the next championships. Around this time is when things started to become more difficult for me. I was a gymnast that went through a lot of injuries throughout my career. So after I dislocated my kneecap, I ended up getting an elbow surgery to mend an injury that I had for quite some time and also mend a torn hamstring. I was still in the gym every single day doing anything I could to stay strong physically, mentally, and so I could come back better and stronger gymnast. As I started to come back and heal from my injury, it was the first practice back when I could start to jump and start to doing some gymnastics again, when I rolled my ankle and broke my fibula bone. I was devastated. I started thinking things like, why me? Fast forward a couple years in 2012, 2013, at the age of 15, when I made my first U.S. national team. I worked so hard to get there and was so excited to represent the USA internationally at many different competitions. I went on to compete in Italy and Germany, where Team USA won gold at a few different competitions, and it was my first time traveling internationally, so it was a great experience, and I learned so much. In 2014 is when I started to really improve in my gymnastics, and I was in the top 5 at U.S. Classics and Championships, which was a huge accomplishment for me. In 2014, there was a World Championship team that I was striving to make. At U.S. Championships, I placed 3rd in the all-around and qualified to compete at the Pan American Championships, which is a competition before the World Championships. During the competition, on our 3rd rotation on floor exercise, I landed my last pass and my kneecap dislocated again. I kept telling myself this isn't happening and I'm okay, I'm fine, I can compete, and ultimately I wasn't okay, and my knee swelled up like a balloon right away. I told the team doctor and USA coordinator that I was fine and I could compete on that last event. I ended up competing vault after I dislocated my kneecap, which probably was not the smartest decision on my part or the team doctor's part, and my knees swelled up immediately and I could barely walk. They had to fly me home immediately to get an MRI, and I ultimately had to get another big surgery where they had to put a cadaver ligament in my knee. Again, I was devastated I wasn't going to be able to try out for the World Championship team, which I had been working so hard for, and was in great position to make that team. Instead of why me, I thought, what is this teaching me? And again, this time, when I lean on my faith and trust that there is something so much bigger in my future than this World Championships, I went home, I healed up, and watched the World Championships and cheered on my teammates. As I started coming back into training, everyone could tell such a big difference. I was stronger physically, I was stronger mentally, and I was a different athlete. 2015 was one of the biggest years of my gymnastics career. At U.S. Classics, I placed 3rd in the all-around and went on to place 2nd behind Simone Biles at the U.S. Championships. I qualified to the World Selection Camp, where I again placed 2nd behind Simone Biles and made my first World Championship team. I just remember after they announced the team, Simone was crying because she was so excited for me and all my hard work had paid off through the many difficult obstacles I had overcome. We went on to Scotland where the World Championships was held, and we trained there for about 3 weeks and competed for about 1 week. I left the World Championships a gold medalist and a bronze medalist on floor exercise. I remember on the flight home from World Championships and just taking a step back and looking at everything that I had overcome through the many injuries and the many setbacks that I had, and was just proud that I never gave up and continued to set big goals for myself. Heading into 2016, which was an Olympic year, I had big dreams to accomplish, my lifelong dream of becoming an Olympian. I was still right behind Simone Biles, placing number 2 at all the camp rankings, and I was at pace to make the Olympic team. In February of 2016, I ended up making the Pac Rim gymnastics team, which is another international competition. And on the last practice of training before we traveled to Pac Rim championships, I tore my meniscus on vault. This was another moment where I was shocked at the situation. I was on a high from winning world championships and continuing to place second behind Simone Biles, and I did not think that this was real life. I ended up having to fly home, get another MRI, and get another surgery. And to preface, this was just a few months before Olympic trials. I underwent surgery, and they fixed my meniscus, and I watched my teammates compete on TV, and I cheered them on. During this time, I wanted to heal up and make it to Olympic trials and hopefully make the Olympic team. And during my recovery process, I was quite stubborn, and I told everybody my knee was feeling good and that I could start training again. And I came back a little bit too soon where my knee was not quite healed yet. But I was able to compete at trials, but I was most definitely not at my 100%, which was very difficult for me because ultimately the Olympics was my dream. But with the circumstances, I was thankful to be at the Olympic trials and to live out one of my biggest dreams. I ended up coming up a bit short, placing 6th in the all-around where only 5 girls make the team, but I didn't make an alternate spot either. They asked me to be the stay-at-home alternate, but I declined the offer because I needed to heal physically and mentally. I was very upset with the situation because this was my dream, but another big dream of mine was to compete at the University of Oklahoma. If you don't know, I'm also known as Athlete A in the case against Larry Nassar, the quote-unquote doctor for USAG who sexually abused me and hundreds of other girls and young women he supposedly was treating for sports injuries at the USAG ranch as well as Michigan State University. The abuse occurred multiple times while he was treating me for a back injury. He would close the blinds in the treatment room, saying that he didn't want to distract the other girls who were training outside. What he did was not a treatment for my back pain. It was an abuse of my body, an abuse of my trust in him as a physician approved by USAG, and clearly an abuse of his medical license. My dad is a physician and my mom is a surgical nurse, so I know how a responsible medical person behaves. I knew this was not responsible, even if at first I did not know what to call what happened to me. It was enough to know that it made me uncomfortable and it made me feel violated. For those who don't know, being Athlete A means I was the first at the training camp to come forward about my abuse. My coach overheard me asking another athlete if anything like what happened to me had ever happened to her or anyone else. This coach, Sarah Jancy, asked me more about what occurred, and I told her. We made a formal complaint, and the rest is history. I am grateful to her for not just being a bystander, but for being an upstander. Because I knew I had done the right thing about speaking up against Larry Nassar, I chose not to dwell on the disappointment. I made a call to the University of Oklahoma right after Olympic trials and told them I was done with elite gymnastics and that I would be arriving the same time as the others in my class. I previously had planned to study at that amazing school after I went to the post-Olympic tour with the U.S. team, but now there was no reason to wait until then. There was no question in my mind that this was the time for me to retire from elite gymnastics, time for me to move on, time for me to begin a new chapter. My dreams of going to the Olympics were gone, but I also had dreams of becoming a Sooner since I attended the camp at the age of 10 and met and fell in love with all the coaches there. I needed to be in a place that valued me and was going to nourish and grow me into a national champion, and OU was that place. I had a new goal now, to help me and my teammates to be national champions, and we met that goal. It was Simone Biles who called me the Michael Jordan of college gymnastics as I perfected all-around skills at OU. My senior year, I had scored 22 perfect 10s, became a 6-time individual national champion and the 6th gymnast in NCAA history to win consecutive all-around titles in 2018 and 2019. But one of my most important accomplishments occurred during my freshman year when I decided to reveal to the world that I was Athlete A. Some might think that was a difficult decision to make. I debated it for sure, but I knew it was the right thing to do. I had always prided myself on leading by example. If revealing my identity gave just one other person the courage to come forward and seek justice and help for an abuse that happened to them, I knew it would be worth it. Whenever I've had a hard time in my gymnastics career or in my life in general, I've always asked myself, how can I grow and learn from this experience? And being a team player, I've always asked, how can I help others grow and learn from this experience? And if others have had similar experience, whether they're women or men, I ask, how can I be a listening ear and a helpful voice for them? That's why I'm here today, to share how I've grown and learned from all my challenges, the ones you may not even know about, as well as the very public challenges, and the challenges I'm also writing about in my forthcoming book. I chose to speak up when I was wronged, or when I witnessed something wrong, or someone else being wronged, so that positive change could happen. I chose not to dwell on the disappointment, the hurt, the setbacks. I chose instead to focus on the comeback, on the very next goal in front of me. And you too can take these simple first steps no matter what the challenges you are facing in your life. I've learned that it is easier to make changes in ourselves and in society when we all work as a team. And by the way, everyone should be a part of that team. Together, we can continue to make a difference. Thank you. So I think we're going to open up to questions now.
Hi, everyone. My name is Liz Bauman, and I am the Director of Student Involvement and Advocacy here at St. Mary's. As Dr. Conboy said earlier, please text your questions into the number on your program, but we certainly have quite a few to get us started. I think I'll start with this first fun one. Do you still try to tumble?
No, I wish I did. I just got a knee surgery in December, so I kind of limited, but I wish I could. Maybe like on a trampoline one day I could, but not recently, I haven't.
And then you did talk about how you were a great all-around gymnast. What was your favorite event?
My favorite event to train was bars and beam, but to compete, I think it was floor exercise, because I could kind of like show off my personality and interact with the crowd and stuff.
What is your best advice for survivors? This person has been for a year and still doesn't quite feel normal.
Yeah, it's definitely very challenging, but I think my main advice would be to lean on your support system and just have a few people that you can really lean on for support and talk to about anything. That is what's really helped me, is my teammates and my family. I just know I can always go to them for anything, and also finding something that kind of distracts you from the way you're feeling, whether that's an activity or reading or something like that, kind of just gets your mind away from it, and that's what really helps me.
You touched on this in your keynote, but what helped you speak out despite knowing that your story would be public forever? Did that make you not want to say anything?
Yeah, I really debated it for years, actually, but I ultimately came to the decision to come out publicly. I felt like if I told my story, it would inspire someone else to either speak up or, help them through their healing process. When some of the other girls were coming out publicly, it helped me. So I felt like if I shared my story, it would help them.
Knowing what you know now, would you change anything about the way that you reported or shared your story?
I don't think I would change anything. I spoke up about it right away when I knew that something was wrong, and my coach reported it, and USAG handled it not in the right way, but I knew that I did the right thing, so I wouldn't change anything.
I know you talked about your coach being an upstander rather than a bystander, and I love hearing that. What were other supports in your life when you were going through that reporting process?
Yeah, definitely my parents. So I was a minor at the time during this whole thing, like when we were reporting it and stuff. And so my parents handled everything behind the scenes. I didn't really know what was going on through any of it. So my parents were probably the biggest support system, and they handled so much behind the scenes that I didn't even know about. So I'm very thankful for them, for sure.
And then beyond the reporting, what services, resources, supports helped you with your healing journey?
Yeah, so I really just leaned on my support system, my family and my teammates. Those are the people that really helped me the most. But I know a lot of the other girls, they go to therapy and things like that. But for me, it was really just like my support system. And I always just felt my best around my teammates and my family. So I just really leaned on them, for sure.
Going to USA Gymnastics, are you satisfied with the changes that have been put into place thus far to protect athletes following your story?
Yeah, they've made a lot of steps in the right direction, which is definitely positive to see, but I definitely think there's still ways to go and things that need to be changed, but it is positive to see that they are, changing things and implementing different rules and things, so we're taking steps in the right direction, which is great to see.
How did you transition from being an elite athlete, and how did that transition look going to the collegiate level?
Yeah, I loved the transition. I mean, I loved both my elite career and my collegiate career, but going to Oklahoma and the collegiate world is more of a team-oriented sport, so you're competing for your team, and it's not so individualized. Yes, there's individual titles and things, but ultimately you want to win a national championship with your team. So I just had so much fun competing for the University of Oklahoma and trying to help them win championships, and it just felt like I was part of a family, and I loved it.
And then you served as a student coach after graduating. What was that experience like?
Yeah, so I coached for 2 years while I was getting my master's, and it was an amazing experience to be able to be both an athlete and a coach at the University of Oklahoma. There's just something so amazing there, and everyone, like I said, is such a big family, and so being welcomed in as a coach it meant so much to me, and all the coaches there have been together for, I think, 17 years, so to be a part of that was something so special, and I learned so many incredible lessons from them, and really learned how to be an amazing coach from learning from them.
Do you coach at all now?
So I coach Special Olympics like 1 day a week, but I'm pretty busy traveling and doing a bunch of other stuff right now, so I kind of stepped away from coaching. I could have gone into like the collegiate world, but I kind of wanted to try some other things, but definitely could be in the future for me.
That's awesome. What is your favorite memory from college?
Oh gosh, I have so many favorite memories, but I think 2017, my freshman year, when we won the national championship as a team, that was probably the best day of my whole life. It was just crazy because we went from preseason where we trained from 6 a.m. and then we had conditioning in the morning, and we went through so many ups and downs as a team throughout the whole season, and then coming out at the end on top was just such an incredible feeling, and I think that's for sure my favorite memory.
What inspires you to not give up, especially after so many setbacks?
I think I'm just a really goal-oriented person, so I like to set big goals and small goals, so I'm always kind of motivated every single day when I get up, and so I think throughout my gymnastics career when I was dealing with injuries and the setbacks and things like that, I always had something that I was looking forward to and something I was working towards, and so I was inspired every single day to achieve those goals and not give up.
Many of us here have seen the Athlete A documentary on Netflix. Can you tell us a bit about making that documentary?
Yeah, it was a very long process. I mean, I was still in school at OU, and I think it took us about 2 years to make it. And so they would come to OU and like film practice sometimes, or come to some of my competitions. And at the time, I didn't really like when they were coming there because I felt like I was thinking about it and I didn't like the feeling and stuff, but ultimately it came out amazing, and I'm so thankful that we did do the documentary, and I've gotten such positive feedback from it, and a lot of people have reached out to me, and it's been amazing throughout the whole thing. But the process was long, and it was a great experience, don't get me wrong, but yeah.
Have you watched it all the way through, or is it weird to watch it yourself?
I watched it when it first came out. So the day it came out, that night before, I didn't sleep. So right when it posted, I watched it. But other than that, I haven't watched it. But I thought it came out great.
We do too. This person says, I have friends who are survivors and I want to be there for them in any way that I can. What are your suggestions and best actions that you have experienced from others supporting you?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most simple thing is just letting them know that you're there for them. I mean, you don't have to say a lot, but just letting them know that you're there and you can be a leaning hand for them is super important, and they'll come to you when the time is right for them. But I think that's just really important, is just telling them that you're there for them and just always be a listening ear for them.
How did you deal with continuing in the same environment where your abuse had occurred?
Yeah, so gymnastics has always kind of been an outlet for me through everything. So I know what happened to me with the sport of gymnastics, but competing and training and, striving to achieve my goals kind of got my mind off of it. And so I'm thankful I was able to separate the two, and going into the gym every single day, that was kind of my safe space and my outlet. So I'm thankful that it was that way.
What's your outlet now that you are kind of done with gymnastics?
Yeah, I'm really into working out, and so I love going into the gym, and doing that, or just hanging out with my friends, or being outside and doing activities like boating or hiking, things like that. So
We do have a question. Someone wants to know what your leg workout is.
oh golly. I do have a fitness Instagram if you want to follow it. I post some workouts on there.
Tell us the handle.
Maggie Nichols Fit.
There you go. What you all
Thank you.
really came here for. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing now that you've graduated with your bachelor's and your master's now.
Yeah, so I wear many different hats. So I own a nonprofit, and then I run a couple gymnastics competitions around the U.S. I'm a personal trainer, and then I also have an agent, so I do like a lot of speaking engagements, appearances, things like that, and a lot of jobs with her, which is awesome.
And you're living in Texas, right? What made you choose that as your location?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Minnesota. My whole family's from there. Then obviously went to school at OU, and now I'm in Fort Worth, Texas. A lot of my friends live there. A lot of the gymnasts from OU live there. And then my boyfriend got a job in Fort Worth, so I was like, I'll just tag along. And though it's warm there, Minnesota's freezing, so thought it'd be good.
Oh my gosh, there are so many questions. People really want to get to know you. What was your junior high and high school experience with having to devote so much time to gymnastics?
Yeah, so I didn't really have like a high school experience per se. So I went to school up until lunch. I am thankful I was able to go to public school. A lot of the girls did homeschool. So I did school up until lunch, and then I never got my license until I was 18, so my parents had to like hire people to pick me up from school and drive me to practice, and I'd be there for about 5 hours, which also is a little bit less than all the other elite gymnasts. They would train like 6-7 hours a day, but my coaches were very strategic with my training, and like I mentioned in my speech, I had a lot of injuries and stuff, so it just worked out perfectly. But I never really went to like football games or parties or like anything like that, but I was fine with that, and I loved making the sacrifices to be able to achieve my goals, and I look back and I don't regret anything or feel like I missed out, but yeah.
Where do you get the confidence to talk about everything that has happened to you?
It's taken a while. I really do love sharing my story, just if I could help people or spread awareness and things, but I don't know, literally when I was standing back there, I just like told myself, I was like, confidence. Like I say that before I like go out and stuff, but I just think that like sharing my story is so important, and it's really important to spread awareness about how often sexual abuse happens and things like that, so I do it.
Well, we're grateful that you do.
Thank you.
How do you balance sharing your story so publicly without feeling like it's defined you?
Yeah, I think I've developed such a great balance between being Maggie and then Athlete A. I think like when I'm home, I never really think about being Athlete A or anything like that. So I'm really good at, separating the two. But I mean, Athlete A is a huge part of me and a part of my story, and so I take pride in that for sure.
What are some things that you do to care for yourself, especially after an event like this?
Yeah, like I mentioned before, just hanging out with people who, fill up my cup and make me feel my best self, and doing things that I love and that I'm passionate about.
How have you navigated trusting people again through this journey?
Yeah, just finding those people that, I've developed such a great relationship with. I feel like I can really read people nowadays, but just those people that, kind of feel like home and people that you just feel so comfortable with, so.
How did your experience affect future relationships? You said that you have a boyfriend now. Mm-hmm. How has that affected those relationships, and how do you navigate that?
Yeah, I don't know if it's really affected it in a negative way or anything. I mean, a lot of like the friends I've met and also my boyfriend now, we really have never like talked about it like before, like when we were developing a relationship. Like that wasn't like the main thing they were asking me, which is really nice. But when they ask me about it, I mean, obviously I tell them, and then I think it grows our relationship even more.
Tell us about your book that's coming out. Mm-hmm. When is it coming out? Do you have a title? When can we buy it?
Yeah, it's been a long process. I think it's been like a year and a half since I've been working on it. So I have someone helping me. I have a ghostwriter helping me with it. So it's in the editing process right now. So we've written it all, and we do have a title, but I'm going to wait until it comes out. But hopefully, I think the beginning of next year, it'll be coming out for sale. So.
As someone who survived abuse as a minor, how do you deal with the anger you may feel toward adults?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely very hard and very hard trusting adults, especially after that's happened. But I think leaning on your parents or your guardian and just really talking to them and, really being around people that you can trust. And that is really hard, but find the help that you need, whether that's therapist or just talking to your parents as much as you can.
Kind of related to that, how have you navigated trusting medical professionals?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is definitely was a difficult process, but I think it's always important to have someone else in the room, whether that's like a nurse or physician's assistant or a coach or a parent, someone else being in the room, making you feel more comfortable for sure. Never want to be alone.
Someone says, congratulations on your national championships. Did you go to the national championships this past weekend and cheer your Sooners to victory?
Thank you, and yes, I did. That was so exciting. That was 2 days ago. They won the championship. So they've won 6 in the past 9 years, I think. So it's pretty incredible. And it was my first time being in the stands, so I had an absolute blast cheering them on.
What's the difference between being there experiencing it as an athlete versus in the stands as a spectator?
I'm almost like more nervous being in the stands. I want them to do so good, and not being a part of the team as an athlete or a coach, there's like nothing I can do other than just cheer them on. So I feel like I'm like more nervous, but it is a lot more fun in a different way being in the stands, like with all the other alumni and cheering them on, and yeah, it's fun.
We are a women's college, in case you were unaware. Do you have any special advice for women as they navigate the college experience, and especially sexual abuse in the college setting? Mm-hmm. Were you an advisor to any students that were experiencing this while you were coaching?
So none of the girls on the team or anything I wasn't an advisor to, but I know I've had a lot of people on social media or people reach out to me. But my main thing is don't be afraid to use your voice. Whether that's just telling a friend, a parent, or someone at the university, use your voice. If something doesn't feel right, say something. That is the most important thing.
Related to college, how did you balance graduate school and your involvement with gymnastics?
Yeah, so KJ Kindler, the head coach there, so a lot of my classes were in the evening, and so was practice, so I would sometimes have to leave like an hour early, and she was super understanding about it and let me leave early. And actually, grad school was a bit easier for me than my undergrad because my schedule wasn't quite as busy like when I wasn't an athlete, so I kind of had a bit more freedom and kind of more fun during my grad school years, which was nice.
Do you still hold any anger toward Larry Nassar? How do you handle navigating that?
Yeah, I really don't ever think about him, ever. Even when I'm telling my story, I mean, I don't even think I've ever thought about that question before. Yeah, I don't know.
We're going to go back to your book for a bit. People have quite a few questions. Can you tell us a bit about the process of writing a book with a ghostwriter? Mm-hmm. Do you talk and they write, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so it's a very unique process, but I actually wanted to write out like the outline and everything, so I wrote that out. Took me quite a bit of time, but she kind of used that outline to make a bunch of questions, and so we kind of went through each chapter that I made, and she drafted a bunch of questions to ask me, and so we went through a bunch of phone calls, like 2 hours at a time, I think, and I would answer the questions and tell the stories and everything like that, and we've probably had hundreds of calls together just to get it all perfected and under my voice and things like that, but it's been a super fun process, and I'm really excited for it to come out.
How is your book going to be different from the Netflix documentary?
Yeah, I mean, it's my full story. It's from when I was growing up through, elementary school, all my gymnastics years, every single detail about my injuries, every single thing, college fun. just my whole story. So not just Athlete A, it's my whole story is Maggie. So it'll be fun, exciting.
Someone wants to know, do you have Simone Biles' phone number? How close are you, and is she a support system for you?
Yes, I do have her phone number. We used to be like best friends when we were on USA national team together. We're still pretty close today. I'm actually going to her wedding in May, so that'll be really exciting.
Are you still friends with any of your other teammates from the national team, and how has the experience brought you guys closer or maybe separated you?
Yeah, I'm friends with like all of them still. I mean, we don't see each other rarely at all, but we like text or like catch up on like social media and stuff, which is really nice. They're all such amazing girls, and a lot of the girls have been through a lot of the same things that I have, so we can really relate on a very deep level. And but it's always a great time when we're together, and we never talk about it, and we just have fun. So I'm blessed to have friends like them still. So.
Do you feel that your status and fame led to your voice being heard and believed? Do you still face people who don't believe you or ignore your story?
Yeah, I think my platform really did spread a lot more awareness about my story, but I don't really face anyone that doesn't believe me or that I see. I mean, if there is negative like comments or anything or messages, I really try not to read them. So I just really trust myself and continue to speak about it and use my voice.
The news with Simone brought on a question for you. Any wedding plans for you anytime soon?
I'm not sure. My boyfriend's actually watching the live thing, so I don't know.
Do you want us to tell him anything? We can look straight into the camera.
He's probably laughing right now.
What was the most painful injury that you had, and how long did it take to rehab?
That's a hard one. Probably, so I tore my meniscus in 2016, and then I came back a little bit too quick, like I mentioned. And so my freshman year of college, I injured that knee again and had a bone chip, and the meniscus like tore a little bit more. And so throughout my whole career, I had no meniscus or cartilage, and so my bones kept just fracturing. And so that's why I just got another big surgery. So that was probably my most painful surgery because it was like ongoing and repetitive and just achy and painful, but just my knees probably the worst ones.
Are you done with surgeries yet, or are there still more to come?
Yeah, I hope so. So I ultimately needed a knee replacement, but I was too young, so the femur osteotomy was the thing that they could do. So I'll probably need a knee replacement in the future, but right now I'm all good to go, I think.
We hope that, yeah, you're good to go for a while. Are there any specific policies that you would like to see USAG implement that they haven't yet?
Most definitely. I don't know specifically what are the rules and guidelines right now, but I really think the most important thing is letting the athletes speak up about anything and them feeling comfortable about it, not feeling scared that they can or they're going to get in trouble, things like that. And then also, for physical therapy or seeing the doctor, that there is someone else present there for sure, which I think that is implemented, but those are the most important ones for sure.
You have mentioned your faith quite a few times. How has your faith gotten you through your journey as an athlete, through your injuries and abuse?
Yeah, just knowing that there's a bigger plan for me and not just dwelling on the disappointments, but knowing that this is happening for a reason and that it's growing me into a stronger person physically, mentally, everything like that, and just leaning on that trust that there is something so much bigger out there for me rather than this obstacle or this disappointment that I'm going through.
Can you talk to us a bit more about your nonprofit organization and what work you do through that?
Yeah, so I established that because my gymnastics meets that I run, I wanted it to be more than just gymnastics, so the girls can fundraise with their team and have some team bonding, and then whoever like raises the most money can win like prizes and pictures and things like that. But also we're raising money for such a bigger reason and a bigger cause and helping others at the same time. So it's called the Maggie Nichols Foundation, and it just supports victims of all types of abuse, so sexual abuse, domestic abuse, everything. And it's been a learning process for sure, but it's been very fulfilling.
What is your favorite type of pizza?
I like that question. Oh, probably just like cheese and sausage or something. Yeah, I love pizza though, so any flavor.
What is your favorite and or the hardest skill that you learned in gymnastics?
So my favorite skill was probably my front aerial that I did on beam. And then my hardest skill was probably my double-double that I did on floor exercise, which is like 2 flips and 2 twists. And I'm like pretty tall gymnast, so it like took me forever to learn that skill, but.
Can you walk some of us through what it takes to learn a skill? Because it seems a little scary to just throw yourself in the air and hope for the best.
Yeah. Well, I think like starting at a young age, it's like at that age, like when you're young, you don't really have fear, or I didn't have any fear, so I like learned a ton of my skills when I was super young, but I mean, through the years, I mean, you learn a back tuck, and then you learn a back layout, and so it's like you gradually start learning skills, and you're less scared, and yeah, just like every other sport, this gets easier, but the older you get, the scarier the skills get, but just how it is.
What do you want to do after your book? What are your future plans?
Oh gosh, I'm just taking it day by day right now. I mean, I'm doing so many different things, but I know that I'll be going on like a book tour and signings and stuff like that. So I'm really excited for that process to see what that's like. And then, I mean, I just hope to continue to travel and speak. And I'm really passionate about my personal training. I kind of just do that on the side, but I really am passionate about that and have a lot of fun doing that. But I don't know what's in the future for me. Probably a lot of different things, which I'm excited about.
In your future, would you ever consider coaching at the elite level?
I don't know, maybe. I mean, I've thought about it, but I've also thought about coaching collegiately as well. Both would be super fun and fulfilling. Maybe one day down the road. We'll see.
Do you have like a big dream for your future, like where you'd like to end up, what you'd like to end up doing?
I don't know. I'm kind of living my dream right now. I love traveling, and I love owning my nonprofit and running the gymnastics meets and still being in the gymnastics world, but in a different way. I love going to my gymnastics meets and talking to all the young girls and things like that, and I love speaking and traveling. So I don't know. I'm kind of living my dream right now. I don't know if it could get much better. So.
Someone wants to know, and I agree, can you stop back here for your book tour, please?
For sure. I would love to.
What is your favorite place that you have competed, and what is your favorite place that you have visited on speaking engagements?
So my favorite place that I competed was probably Japan. It was just so different from any other place that I've been to, and I actually traveled there alone with just my coach. So it wasn't like a team competition, it was just like an individual World Cup. So that was super fun. Traveling for a speech, I feel like everywhere is super fun and unique and different, and I love meeting new people, so I like going everywhere.
Especially Indiana,
yeah,
right?
They're my favorites here.
In the future, if you were to have a daughter, would you allow her to compete in gymnastics?
Most definitely. If she loves it, for sure I'll let her do it. I think gymnastics is such a beautiful sport, and it teaches people such incredible lifelong lessons. So if she loves it or my boy loves it, then for sure.
I know that gymnastics is a huge mental sport as well. Did you ever get stuck with mental block? And if so, how did you get over those?
Yeah, so I actually never really had a mental block during my gymnastics career, which I'm very thankful for. I couldn't imagine how scary that would be. But I know a lot of the girls who do go through mental blocks, they start from the beginning and just do basics and, kind of just start from scratch. But ultimately, I think it's important just to trust your training and your coaches, because they're not going to put you in a situation where you're going to get hurt. So,
someone wants to know where you got your shoes.
Oh gosh, I've had these for so long. I think I got them at Altered State, so they're pretty affordable.
Also, do you have a dog?
I don't have a dog, but I didn't mention this, but I also like dog sit for fun. So every week I watch a golden doodle. So I kind of do, sort of. But yeah, I love dogs. I want one so bad, but maybe one day.
We need to ask your boyfriend for
Yeah.
that too. Okay. Engagement ring and a dog, please.
Just at the same time, that'd be perfect.
We're in the fun questions. Apparently, who is the most famous person in your contacts?
Probably Simone. I mean, she's like the most famous person ever. Yeah, probably Simone. I don't know. I would have to look, but I think Simone.
Are you going to Coachella this weekend?
No, I've never been there, but it looks so fun. I don't know. Maybe one day.
Someone wants to know what you have done in South Bend.
Well, nothing. I landed about like an hour ago. It was a mess today with delayed flights and canceled and mess, but we made it. Perfect timing.
Do you get nervous speaking publicly? If so, how do you overcome that fear?
Yeah, I used to get a lot more nervous than I do now. I think I've spoken quite a few times, so I feel a bit more comfortable now, but I definitely always get a little bit nervous.
How did your parents handle your abuse in your story? How did your family heal?
Yeah, I mean, my family's so strong, especially my parents. Like I mentioned before, they handled every single thing behind the scenes, and I didn't really know what was going on. But I think they just lean on each other, and but yeah, they're so strong. And if you've seen the documentary, you can see how strong they are and how passionate they are about the situation and how much they want to make change in USAG and just in the world of sports. So.
We had a few people that had seen the documentary asking if your parents were going to come because they loved them so much in the documentary. I'm like, well, she's an adult, so probably not.
I'm old.
Is this your first time in Indiana?
No, I've been here before. So fun fact, I actually had a boyfriend a long time ago, and he invited me to his prom, and he lived in Indiana, so he took me. Yeah, anyway.
An Indiana prom.
Yeah.
Wow. What is your favorite hype music?
I kind of like everything. I'm a big country music listener, so I'll listen to country music or hip hop, kind of whatever I'm feeling. But my playlist, like before gymnastics meets, had like every genre in it, so I kind of like everything.
And what is your go-to Starbucks drink?
Right now, it's an oat milk shake and espresso. It's bomb. So pretty low calorie too, so that's nice.
What did you get your master's in?
Yeah, so I got my master's in intercollegiate athletics administration, so adult and higher education.
Are you going to see Taylor Swift?
No, I'm not. I like Taylor Swift, but I'm not like a Swiftie per se, but I do like her, yeah.
What is your favorite Taylor Swift song? This says a lot about
Love
you
Story,
here.
maybe? Is that what, yeah. See, I'm not like a #1 Taylor Swift fan, so sorry.
That's okay, you don't have to be. What was your favorite leotard to wear?
Oh my gosh, I loved all the leotards that I would compete in, but at Oklahoma, KJ Kindler, she designs the leotards, and so you feel like a princess in those leotards because they have so many jewels on them, and yeah, I loved wearing them.
Do you have any siblings, and were they also in gymnastics?
Yeah, I have 3 older brothers. No, they didn't do gymnastics. Me and one of my other brothers, when I first started gymnastics, my mom put us in the same class, and he got kicked out because we were like too much trouble. So his gymnastics career ended pretty quickly, but they did other sports.
Belle's soccer team wants to know how you deal with losing. That's what they said, not me.
I kind of take losing as like a learning experience, and just every time we would like get second or lose, we would always be more motivated to come back stronger, go back into the gym and fix what we had done wrong at the competition. So I think losing is kind of a win because you're going to be growing as a team and an individual, and just take it as motivation to come back stronger the next competition or game.
How much did it mean to you when your mom read your statement at the trial for you?
Yeah, it meant the world to me. So I was in classes and training, so I wasn't able to go. And so my mom read it, and she's just so strong, and she really will use her voice. So it was super impactful to watch. And a lot of people reached out to me and just were inspired by her.
Tell us a bit about your experience speaking with different groups. How does it vary speaking with college students versus younger kids and kind of other age categories?
It just kind of depends. I love speaking for all age groups. Colleges, they can kind of relate a bit more just through bits and pieces of my story just because we're kind of the same age and have gone through a lot of the same things. But younger kids, it's just a little bit different, and but they have fun questions, and I don't know. I like speaking with all age groups. It's fun.
What advice do you have for someone getting into advocacy work, such as building a nonprofit?
So my dad really helped me a lot throughout the whole process. There's a lot to learn. So just having someone you can ask questions to and learn along the way with is super important. He really helped me throughout the whole thing, but I say go for it. You're gonna fail and have some ups and downs, but it's amazing work, and I'm thankful that I did it.
Speaking of your dad, someone wants to know what kind of doctor he is and if they can shadow him.
He's a family practice. He's retired now, but I wish you could have shadowed him because he is like the most amazing man ever and probably the smartest person I've ever met, but I wish he could have. That would have been awesome.
Keeping with the family, are your brothers jealous of your success in sports, or are they supportive, or both?
No, they're not jealous at all. We never really talk about it that much. They're just so proud of me, and they would come to my gymnastics meets as much as they could. But yeah, no, they're not jealous at all and super supportive, and it's always just a good time when we're all together.
Did any teammates think speaking up would affect their chances of being on the Olympic team?
Most definitely. That was definitely a worry for me, just coming out, because back then, kind of the culture of USAG was if you speak up, you're going to get in trouble, or you might not make a team, or if they're mad at you, or things like that. But ultimately, I, chose to do what was right rather than making a team. Whether that's why I didn't make a international competition or why I didn't make the Olympic team, ultimately I made the right choice and did the right thing.
What advice do you have to survivors who feel unheard?
Just keep going, keep fighting through it, and keep using your voice and sharing your story, and just keep going. It'll get better, just step by step, day by day.
What is your favorite hairstyle to wear while competing?
I always wore my hair in a slicked back, big bun, because I have pretty long, thick hair, so I had to use a bunch of ponytails and things like that. But when I went to college, we were able to braid our hair, because in elite, everyone kind of just did a slicked back. So in college, I had fun doing different braids and stuff. So it was fun.
Have you read any good books lately?
So I'm reading the Colleen Hoover books right now. It Ends With Us. Super cliche, but I'm reading that book right now.
I think you and about a fifth of our campus. What is your go-to nail color?
A light pink or white usually, or French.
If you could meet any country singer, who would it be?
Morgan Wallen, probably.
That's great, because one of the questions was, have you met Morgan Wallen?
Oh my gosh, I wish. He's awesome.
In moments of self-doubt, do you have a mantra or something that helps you persevere and move forward?
Usually when I'm going through a difficult time or an obstacle, I just tell myself that this is growing me into a stronger person, into a better person. So instead of saying stuff like, why me, or in dwelling on it, I'm saying, what is this teaching me? What am I learning from this experience? So that kind of, inspires me and motivates me to, pick myself up and keep moving forward.
I'm not even going to ask Notre Dame or St. Mary's because I'm hoping you'll say St. Mary's.
St. Mary's.
Someone is advising that you go to Rocco's tonight. Did you ever receive any negative backlash or bullying after reporting?
Not much. I mean, there were a couple comments like on social media, but other than that, no. I mean, it's been nothing but positivity and people reaching out to me and stuff. It's been amazing, so no.
I know that some coaches and parents are strict with what athletes are able or unable to do during season. What were you most excited to do once gymnastics was over?
Eat more fun foods and stuff. And I definitely did that when I've been done with gymnastics, but I don't know. Other than that, I felt like my collegiate career, I had a great balance between like my social life and training and things like that, so I feel like I wasn't really missing out on too much. Another thing probably is like traveling. I love to travel and like go to the beach and stuff, so probably that actually.
What is a question that no one asks but you wish they would?
Oh, I don't know. That's a hard question. I'll think about it.
So we're going to go into kind of lightning round with our last few fun questions. What is your favorite TV show to binge?
I'm not a big TV show girl. Is that weird? Yeah. I don't watch a lot of TV or anything. I like watching like YouTube videos and stuff, but yeah.
Did you have any superstitions when you were competing?
Nope, not really. I wasn't big on that kind of stuff. Kind of just chilled before the meets and listened to music.
Have you met anyone that made you starstruck?
I met like Serena Williams, and that was really cool. Or Venus Williams. So that was super cool. I probably was starstruck when I saw them.
Chick-fil-A or Cane's?
Chick-fil-A. I don't know if I've ever had Cane's. Maybe once, but Chick-fil-A.
Who are your biggest role models and how have they impacted you?
Probably, for one, my parents, they're huge role models to me. But also I really looked up to like Shawn Johnson and Allie Raisman, just especially in the gymnastics world. I mean, they worked so hard and they were so incredible at the sport, so I really looked up to them.
What is your go-to karaoke song?
Probably a country song, probably either one of like Morgan Wallen songs, probably. I don't know.
Are you going to a Morgan Wallen concert?
I hope so. I've looked at the tickets, but he's not coming anywhere near me, I don't think, unfortunately, but hopefully one day.
Favorite YouTuber or type of videos to watch?
My favorite YouTuber is Michelle Reed. I don't know if any of you guys know who she is, but I kind of just like lifestyle vlogs and things like that. So,
your dream dinner guest?
Luke Combs, Morgan Wallen, Mitchell Tempany, I don't know.
And last one, what is your go-to hype up song?
I don't know. I don't have like a specific one that I like. It just depends on like the stage of life that I'm in, or like a new song that comes out that I love. It just depends. So probably country though.
I would love for everyone to please join me in thanking Maggie Nichols for joining us for the past hour. Raise Your Voice will continue tomorrow with a day of workshops and panels in Rice Commons. You can check the website for the detailed schedule. And then we will end on Wednesday with our annual Tri-Campus Take Back the Night event, kicking off on the island at 4:30 p.m. We hope that you are able to still look at the resource tables on your way out. Make sure to grab a t-shirt if you did not get one, and join us for elephant ears in front of O'Laughlin. Thank you everyone for coming tonight, and we'll see you soon.